What's going on, YouTube fam? And welcome to another YouTube video. Today I'm gonna give you some tips and a quick review on the coffee or espresso machine that you guys saw me purchase about a year ago. I'm talking about the Breville Infuser, model number BES 840XL. And I also got the Breville Smart Grinder Pro, which is the grinder that matches up perfectly with the coffee machine. So what's up, guys, and welcome back to another video. Man, I've recorded this clip already, well, not this clip, but I've tried to record this video already like 3 times. I keep trying to make this very simple, and I keep getting everything all confused. So in a minute, we're gonna use the machine, we're gonna use the coffee machine and make some coffee. But first, I wanna tell you guys the keys to make this as simple as possible. I wrote it down. You guys know how I feel about making notes, but I had to make some notes. I'm gonna make it as simple as possible so that if you guys do this just like this, you'll be able to get a nice shot of coffee on this machine right from the get-go. Okay, so first things first. The amount, let's talk about the keys, the things that are most important to get this just right. The amount of water, okay, that comes out obviously is key. Okay, the water temperature and the time that it takes to brew. Those 3 factors are key to getting a good shot of coffee. By the way, all these settings I'm going to tell you guys, and this process I'm going to give you is specific for this machine. In a minute I'll give you the model number and all that stuff, okay, for this machine and this grinder. So the amount of water and the water temperature are controlled automatically by the coffee machine. You don't have to do anything. It comes from the factory set up just like this. Another thing is that all these settings I'm going to give you are all based on making a double, okay, a double shot. I never make a single shot. Why make a single shot? I don't even get it. Just make a double. So I always make a double shot. All these settings are also based on using the unpressurized basket. Okay, so this machine comes with 4 baskets. It comes with pressurized and non-pressurized, okay, for making a single shot and a double shot. So all these settings are based on the unpressurized double shot, okay. I think in the clips later I talk a little bit more about the unpressurized and pressurized, but you know, some of these details, there's a lot of people that get into explaining all of these details, and basically I just want to give you guys my take on this machine, which let's get that out of the way. You know, it's a great machine. I'm really happy with it. I'm glad I got it. I've learned a whole bunch about espresso and making a great shot of coffee. So yeah, I highly recommend it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful machine that it looks like a nice piece on your kitchen counter. It's very well made. It's very pretty. And basically, once you dial everything in, you'll get a really nice shot of coffee. Okay, so that is the machine itself. I highly recommend it. It's the Breville Infuser, and I'll give you guys the model number in a little bit. The grinder is the Breville Smart Grinder Pro, and it's the grinder that goes along with this machine. It pairs perfectly with it. They make that same model, that same coffee maker in a model that comes with the built-in coffee grinder, and it's probably like the same one. It's just all put all into one piece. But the main reason why I did not do it that way is because I did not know if I was going to have enough space on my counter to keep everything out there. And the other machine is quite a bit bigger. That way, in this setup, I can always, you know, I don't have to keep the grinder on the counter itself. So that was the main reason why I did it this way. And yeah, so let's get into the specifics. Let's get into the settings, and let's get into the main tips on how to get this thing just right. Okay, so the amount of water that comes out of the machine and the water temperature are controlled automatically by the coffee machine. The time that it takes to brew, okay, there's several things that will affect how long it takes the shot to come out, or the double shot to come out. And again, this is for the unpressurized basket, okay, and this is the way you want to go. If you want to do things like just move right up to like the way they would, you know, a more experienced person would do it, the way you can really dial it in and get your best results, you want unpressurized, okay? Just try to, if you follow these steps, it should be simple. So basically, the time that it takes to brew, it should be between 25 seconds and 30 seconds. Anywhere in there, you're gonna get a nice shot of coffee. If it comes out too fast, it's under extracted and it's just gonna be all watery and not good. If it takes too long, it's going to be over extracted, it's going to be bitter and kind of burnt tasting, and it's not going to be great either. So 25 to 30 seconds, so right in the middle, maybe like 27 seconds, that's your best results, okay? So that's the time that you want it to take. Now, you cannot control the time. The time you control by the other things I'm about to explain right here, okay? So this is how you control how long it takes to brew. Okay, so I went to get the portafilter. So here's the portafilter. So obviously, the amount of coffee that you put into here is going to affect how long it takes to come out, because the machine will build the pressure automatically and it'll start pushing the water through the grinds. So if you compact this, the more you compact this, the longer it'll take. And you can actually compact it so much that nothing comes out. The machine will not build enough pressure to brew anything, okay? So the amount of coffee and the pressure that you use tamping down is going to affect greatly on how long it takes to come out. Okay, so the amount of coffee that I put in here, I keep it constant because I weigh the beans before I grind them. So for this machine, okay, 16.5 grams is usually perfect for me. In some kind of, maybe for some beans, you might want to go up to like 17, 18 grams. And for some beans, you might want to use a little bit less, maybe 16, maybe 15 grams. Somewhere between, I would say between 14 and 18 grams, you have the perfect amount of coffee in here. Okay, so for me, I usually go for 16.5 grams for a double shot. Again, remember, for a double shot, unpressurized. Okay, so 16.5 grams of coffee, and I keep that constant because I weigh the beans before I grind them, and there's nothing else in the grinder. I keep it empty, so whatever I put in is whatever comes out, and then I put that into my portafilter. Now, the tamping pressure, how do I keep that constant? Okay, and again, I get into all of this a little bit later when we actually make coffee, and you hear me talking about this, but I don't make it like so simple with just follow these steps and you'll get a nice shot. So that's why I'm recording this again like this. So here's the tamper that I use. The machine comes with a built-in tamper. It has a tamper, you can use that. And I do use it I'll show you later. But this one I got because it has a lip on it. And then you can control the height of this. Okay, so when you tamp down, you basically want to go until it's, metal versus metal here. And then you know that you tamped hard enough. You just go all the way until it's touching. So if you notice that you're putting a lot of pressure, you shouldn't have to use a ton of pressure, okay? You have to tamp a little bit hard, but not like super, super hard. And that's just, again, like practice, okay? So the other factor that determines how much pressure you're gonna have to use is the grind size. So that's why you wanna get a grinder like the one that I got, because you need to be able to really fine tune the grind size. It's super important. I didn't think that was going to be such a huge factor, but it's super important. So you want a fine enough grind so that this thing is not fighting you. If it's too coarse, you notice you're going to be pressing like super hard and you still can't get it to touch metal against metal. Okay. How do you, and I forgot to touch on it. How do you determine the distance here, the depth? Okay. Well, I explained that a little bit later on the video, but basically it's, you want to, when you tamp down, and you lock this thing into the machine, you don't want an imprint, okay, of the brew head that's in the machine on your coffee grinds. They should not touch. It should be almost touching, but not quite. So, and that's basically how you do it. You just try it, and if you see the imprint, you give it a little bit more depth. This is adjustable. You just adjust it, okay? You give it a little bit more depth, and you go again until it's no longer touching. Once you achieve that, then you never have to touch this again, and now you know that when you tamp down, it will not give you an imprint of the brew head on your coffee grinds, and that's how you know it's perfect. Basically, it should be somewhat, you need to put some pressure. It shouldn't be like super like easy, but it shouldn't be hard either, okay? So, and you control that with the grind size. You need a grind that will give you that. And usually the setting that I use is somewhere usually between like 12 and 20. Okay, 12 and 20. That is kind of like a big range on that grinder. As the numbers get smaller, the grind gets thinner. Okay, so you get a finer grind. So, but what happens is that depending on the coffee you're using, some coffees have more oils than others, and even through time, like you buy your coffees, and you shouldn't keep your coffee for maybe more than like a week, 10 days, like 2 weeks max, because what happens is it starts to dry out. Okay, so as it starts to dry out, you're gonna have to grind it finer and finer. So you'll notice that you have to dial it in every time, maybe go down by 1 or 2 numbers. So maybe you, in the beginning, you start grinding that same coffee at 18, and by the time you finish with it, you're grinding at 15 or 14 or something like that. Doesn't always vary as much, it just depends, okay? But basically, the grind size, you're gonna be somewhere around 14, maybe 15 on this grinder for most coffees, okay? So you dial it in there, you put your 16.5 grams, and it should be just fine. Okay, so let's try to make it as simple as possible. Let's do a little recap. So the amount of water and the water temperature, that's kept automatically by the machine. You don't have to do anything. The time that it takes to brew, it should take between 25 seconds and 30 seconds to get your 2 ounces out. And it's 2 ounces of liquid, and that's, again, that's automatic from the machine. The amount of coffee that goes into the portafilter. And again, all of this is for a double, okay, an unpressurized double. So the amount of coffee that goes in here, 16.5 grams. Try it with that. You should be somewhere around there, maybe 17, maybe 18, maybe 15, somewhere in there. 16.5 grams should get you right in the ballpark. How do I keep it constant? I weigh the beans, I put them in the grinder's empty, so whatever I put in is whatever comes out, and that's how much coffee goes in here. The tamping pressure, how do I keep that constant? I just explained it. With this thing, you do the depth here. Once you have it right, you never have to touch it again. You tamp down until it's metal against metal, bam, done. And that's it. So basically, once you do things just like that, the machine will take 25 seconds to 30 seconds to give you your double, and it'll be perfect every time. The other thing that, that takes a lot more practice is the frothing the milk and making the latte art. Frothing the milk is super simple. You can get a lot of foam from this machine, really easy. It's easy to learn. I got the hang of it, really fast. But making the latte art, that's a totally different story. But I'll give you a couple of tips that I've learned as I've used it. Okay, so here's what I've learned. When you're frothing the milk, you want to get a nice whirling action or whirlpool action there in the milk as you're warming it up. It should be going around quite profusely. Okay, it should be going around fast. As you're doing that, you're injecting air into the milk, and you want to get the bubbles to be extremely fine. Okay, you don't want big bubbles. Big bubbles will mess up your latte art. Okay, so you want the bubbles to be as fine as possible. So that's just practice. Okay, so every now and then I get some latte art. Sometimes it's just too much foam and the foam is too thick and you cannot do art with it. It'll just go to the top. And anyway, you know what? If you guys are not following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. Every weekend, usually just about every weekend, I post pictures of my what I call afternoon brew. I make coffee just about every Saturday and Sunday afternoon. And then I post it to my Instagram. So please follow me on Instagram. It's at Omnio Capote. Plus, that's a nice way for us to interact. If you have any specific questions, maybe something that I didn't touch on or you didn't understand about the video, either comment below. And by the way, please give the video a like, give me a follow, follow me on the YouTube channel. So yeah, Instagram is a great way for us to go back and forth and talk about this. Just send me a DM. I'll answer it. All right, so let's get in the kitchen and let's go make a brew. Okay, so I kind of spaced things out a little bit, so I have a little bit more room to work with. There you see the espresso machine, and it's warming up. So you should always let it warm up for about 10 minutes before you use it. You want everything to get nice and hot. And by the way, the machine comes with everything you're gonna need to get started except for the grinder, unless you get the one that comes with the grinder. But here's the grinder. Right now for these beans, I've had them already for a little while, and I've had to dial it down from, I started at 15, I went to 14 the last time. I think today I'm gonna have to use 13 to get a nice shot in the proper amount of time. And by the way, if you get your shot in like I told you in 25-26 seconds, you will get 2 ounces. Okay, so you'll get 2 ounces of coffee of liquid from your 16.5 or 17 grams of ground coffee. Okay, the machine even brings the little mug to frost the milk, and The latte art is what I'm still working on. You guys have seen me trying to improve on that. This is where I keep the beans. I've showed you guys this before. And for espresso, you want to get like a dark roast. You don't want something like very light, at least medium roast. I think this one's somewhere between medium and dark. There you see it. Okay, so you guys saw that I had the portafilter out of the machine, but now I put it back in there so it can warm up. You want everything to get hot. So I'm gonna wait about 10 minutes, and in a second I'll make the shot. Another thing is that, you know, some people, they put a cup like this to start warming up as well, because this will heat up a little bit and heat the cup up. But what I do, I don't want to wait that long. So if this thing is on the whole day, you could just do that and your cup will be warm. But what I do is I fill it with water, put it in the microwave for about a minute, and then the cup will be nice and hot. I dump out the water and I get my shot. I'll show you guys the process in a second. Okay, so this is the little cup that comes with the grinder, okay, which you see right there. And I have this little scale. This scale's tiny, but it gives you grams, and it gives you tenths of grams. So we're gonna go ahead and do 16.5 today. Okay, so there you have it, 16.5 grams of beans, and this is how I make sure that it's always the same. Okay, so that's how I make sure I always have the same amount of coffee beans, and sometimes, you know, I might go to 17, I might go to 16, but it's usually right around 16.5. And again, what you want to keep constant is that when you brew, you want to make sure that, again, that it's going to take about 27 seconds. That's how you get the perfect 2 ounces out, and your shot is perfect. And when the machine builds pressure, you see that if you had the right amount of coffee with the right tamper pressure, okay, and the right grind size, your machine will build pressure all the way right in between these two little, it has 2 little bolts there. I don't know if you can see them, but it'll go right into the middle of these 2 little bolts. It might be a little bit more over to the right, a little bit more over to the left, but right in there, that's the sweet spot. That's where you're gonna get the perfect shot. Okay, so I got my beans in there. Let's go ahead and grind them. Today we're gonna grind, again, we're gonna grind today on 13. And so you see, when you put that amount of beans in there, it grinds for about 20 seconds, and it's perfect every time. You know, there's nothing left in there. It's completely done. I think I already mentioned to you guys that the machine comes with everything you need to get started. You'll get this little tamper, you get the portafilter, you get right in here is a storage area, and it brings 4 filters, right? It brings 4 filters. These are pressurized. They're called pressurized. If you can't get the right grind size and all that kind of stuff, you can't get it perfect. You can get kind of like a decent shot using these. You might have better luck using these. But what you want to work your way up to is using the ones that are not pressurized, which are these here. This is for a single shot. The one for a double shot, it's the one that's in my portafilter right now, and it's the one I always use. So this little tool here is so that you can kind of it goes around the filter like this. Once you have the ground coffee in there, and it's to level off the coffee. But I'm going to show you guys how I do it. I think the method that I have is better. Okay, so you see the filter right here. It's already nice and warm. Everything's heated up in there. This is the one not pressurized to get a double shot. And you guys are going to want to get one of these, man. This is vital. This was like the best investment for this thing. And this you'll see in a minute, but once you start putting your ground coffee in there, it'll start spilling and getting messy. If you don't want that, just get one of these little rings that sits right on top and gives you that extra room so that you can, well, I'll show you in a minute. I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so I'm going to start putting my coffee in here. Okay, so you guys saw this was 16.5 grams of beans. So that means I have 16.5 grams of powder in here. Okay, so by the time you get everything in here, if you notice, this thing is like way overfilled. It goes way past this. You would have a big mess on your hands by now, which is what used to happen to me in the beginning. Now, what I usually like to do is I tamp it down like this, and what that does is kind of like lets everything level off evenly in there, because you want it to have pretty much the same distribution of coffee everywhere when you tamp down. So then, before I remove this, watch what I do. I use the tamper that comes with the machine, because obviously this one won't fit. This one won't fit in there with this on, okay? But this one kind of does. So you go in here and you kind of press it down at first, like this. I go all around to kind of push the coffee into the portafilter. So when I remove this, now nothing falls out. It's perfect. You see, no mess. Now this thing has two sides to it. It has one side that is like I told you guys already, I adjusted perfectly so I could get the right depth. And then this side, which is kind of to level off the coffee lightly at first, and it kind of distributes the coffee evenly. So you go around a little bit like that, distribute the coffee, and then you just tamp down. I'm trying to do this with holding the camera, but basically that's all you do. It's down. There you see it, okay? If you did everything right, when you turn it upside down, okay, it'll stay in there, okay? If you're turning it upside down and it falls out, then you probably didn't do it right. Okay, here's another thing. When I lock it in place, I'm gonna have to put the camera down to do this, but when I lock it in place, I'm gonna take it back out after I lock it in place, and so you see how there's no mark on the coffee grinds there. When I bring it back out, it should have no mark on it. Okay, so there you see I locked it in. I'm gonna take it back out and see if I have a mark. Okay, and I just took it out, and you can see there's no mark on the coffee grinds. So that's how you know that you're getting it deep enough to where the water has enough room to get into the coffee grinds evenly, okay? And if you notice inside the machine, you see the brew head here. What you're gonna get is you're gonna get an imprint on your grinds of this here, okay? This area here, and that's how you know that you're not tamping down enough, okay? So let me put this back in there, and then I'll show you guys how the shot works. All right, so I locked it in place. Now I usually use these little glasses. Maybe I should get a taller one, because what happens is that some of the coffee, you know, obviously you get a little spillage, you know, you get a little messy. So in order to avoid that, what I've been doing is I use this little thing that little plastic piece came with my scale, and I put it under the cup, and that brings it up high enough to where I get no mess. See, if I put the camera down here, you guys could see. You see, that's how I do it. Now it will be nice and clean, no mess. All right, so let me see. I'm gonna time my shot today just to see how long it takes. But again, I noticed that right around 27 seconds is perfect. And again, it comes programmed so that when you hit this button, okay, this is to brew your double shot. It'll take, like I said, about 6-7 seconds before anything comes out. Then about 20, you know, somewhere around 20 seconds to get your full 2 ounces out. And if you do it just like that, you'll have a perfect shot. All right, so let's see what happens. Let me hit it, and then I'm gonna time it. Okay, see, about 7 seconds it started coming out. And see, first it's dark, then it starts to get lighter, it builds full pressure. Notice what I told you guys about the little needle. It'll go right in between the two little screws there, and that's how you know you got the right pressure, okay? And the shot just finished, 26 seconds. Okay, so there's my double shot, and you see the nice crema, the bubbles on top. It's perfect, nice and dark. If you taste it like this, obviously to most people it's gonna be a bit bitter because there's no sugar in it. And I will put the sugar in the milk now to frost the milk, and you guys will see that part of the process. Okay, so now for the milk, there's 4 ounces of milk. There's 4 ounces of milk in here, and it's got for my taste, it's got 1.5 teaspoons of just plain white sugar, and I stir it up a little bit with a spoon, and then you're gonna use the one, and in a few seconds, your milk will be hot, and you'll have the nice bubbles in there. The milk actually right now it's about halfway up in the cup, but it's gonna go almost all the way to the top. That's called I believe they call that stretching the milk, which is when you start to build all that foam in there. It kind of adds volume to it, and that translates to the taste and the enjoyment of the actual coffee. So when I'm gonna have to put the camera back on the tripod to record this part, because I won't be able to do it, record and hold this thing and do all these things at the same time. At the same time, I can barely do it using both hands. Anyway, so you'll see, but at first the machine will build, because the temperature is different when you are steaming as when you are brewing. So it has to change temperatures and build temperature in order to steam the milk, and that takes a few seconds. This machine has like I don't remember what they call it, but it has like a cycle that once you stop steaming, it'll automatically cool the machine so that you can brew another shot right away. Okay, and you'll hear it. You'll hear the water coming out and doing its thing. In the beginning, when you first turn, and here's for steaming, right? When you first turn it on, you want to have just like a regular empty cup so that you can catch. It's gonna let out a little bit of water first. Okay, so you want to catch that, and then once steam starts coming out, then you go back to the middle position on here and stop it, and then you'll have your milk right next to you. Okay, and then you start it back up and you'll get steam, no water dripping out anymore. So, and then you heat up the milk. You heat it up until it feels warm to the touch, like you can no longer hold it. It's too hot. Okay, when it gets to that point, then you know it's hot enough, and you don't need to use a thermometer or nothing. It's very easy to get the hang of that part. Is very easy to do, and the way that you do that you kind of inject the air into the milk to mix, you'll hear it. It's kind of like based on a sound. You'll hear it, but it sounds kind of like paper tearing. When you hear that sound, you're getting it just right, and you basically want to have that sound going on pretty much the whole time you're steaming the milk. And if you, man, that part is tricky. Okay, I'm sorry, it's hard to explain. You have to kind of get used to doing that, but it is tricky and it's hard to get. You want the foam to be very, very fine. It cannot be big bubbles. If you get big bubbles, you won't be able to do any latte art. It has to be that fine foam. And anyway, let's try it and let's see what we get today. So I started, and in a second you'll hear the machine build the pressure and start to steam. Okay, there it goes. Okay, that's the little bit of water coming out, and now it's steaming. So I switch over. Okay, that's the sound you want to be getting. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's it. You're gonna keep going until it's just too hot. It's too hot to hold. Okay, that's it. And you always wanna just get a little bit more steam out, so kind of clean the wand, so keep it clean. So I got nice frosty milk. It looks like shiny paint. Okay, there you see it. Let's see how the foam came out today. Okay, I totally messed up my latte art trying to like look at what I'm filming, but anyway, a lot of times I don't get it right anyway. But there's nice foam on there, and there's still some in the cup. Now, one thing that I do tell you guys is that the flavor is perfect every time. Oh man, I make better coffee at home now than anywhere, any coffee shop that I go to. This is just perfect every single time. I'm gonna put the last little bit of milk in here. All right, and now we just enjoy. Please guys, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Baby, I'm home again.